But it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always start off with 5 years ago, the pandemic question. And I really wanted to put this question to rest, but so many things were changed and altered during that time. So 5 years ago, this pandemic was raging. Everyone was trying to figure their lives out. How did you ultimately make it through that time period, and how has it affected the way that you live life in 2025?
Okay, do you know what? Really a fascinating question and quite fun
Yeah,
to retrospectively go back over
yeah,
because I'm ChiChi Fit. I'm musical theatre, dance, fitness. And at the core of what I do is bring people together, communities together in a very inclusive space to dance and get fit to show tunes.
yeah,
So we'd only launched the brand 2 years prior to COVID entering in 2020. So 2018, our doors opened to the community. I started offering ChiChi Fit musical theatre fitness classes to to the unknown people. It didn't exist. No one had ever experienced it. And it took a good 2 years to get those people through the door to share what this thing was. It was a very people to people kind of experience. And I think a huge amount of the joy experienced by the class and then the addictive nature of it was coming back, not just for the fitness element and the sort of the dance fitness element. It was so much for those people.
yeah,
People were making friendships and it was really, really valuable. So when we had that sudden, and it really was quite sudden shock that doors were closing, nothing could happen in real life, I did go into slight panic attack, going, I can't translate this onto screen. I can't just move onto an online platform. The magic of ChiChi Fit is in the people and that shared energy and the positivity and the space and the community. And I did literally have a moment where I thought it's all over.
yeah,
It's all over. However, I'll jump forward to the end of the story just so so your listeners aren't panicking that it all fell to pieces.
yeah,
We were that brand, that company that got really lucky because it was a bad time for many and a hard time for many. And I was expecting that for us. I'm not going to lie. I really thought that's what we were going to experience. But the golden ticket, not the one from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is also one of our routines in one of our classes, but literally that golden moment that was unexpected was, oh, now that the world's been forced onto these online platforms and they either do it or they'll feel completely isolated. And this is not just in the fitness world industry. It's everywhere. Every workspace was moving on to this.
yeah,
Everyone became very familiar with it.
yeah.
So it wasn't unusual. It wasn't odd. It, yeah, it became the norm.
Mhm.
So I sort of began to come out going, okay, we can emerge through this. There must be a way. Can I get that same magic that we feel in class in a live experience onto screen?
Yeah,
Can I do that? And the answer was yes. It's different. It's definitely a different experience, but it's a really valuable experience. And for many who maybe fear fitness or have a little bit of anxiety or nerve related stuff about going into a new class or trying a group exercise class, suddenly they could do it in the privacy of their home. They could turn their cameras off and engage and dance their little hearts out. And in our case, because it's all showbiz and show tunes, sing to their heart's content,
yeah,
perhaps mildly irritating their neighbors. Um, they found a really comfortable place. So that was a surprise as well.
yeah,
And people who perhaps would ordinarily never have done a ChiChi Fit class were falling in love with it on their own little living room stage and developing more confidence in themselves, in their abilities, so that when the doors did open sometime later, they actually bravely walked through them and
yeah,
perhaps might never have done so if it wasn't for that period of time where they became comfortable and familiar with it online. Also, for those people who fell in love with it but don't have an instructor in their a ChiCi Fit instructor in their locality, they could carry on doing it because it didn't matter that there wasn't a nearby class. Um, but on that note, we'd just begun training instructors in our program so that ChiCi Fit could be delivered firstly all over the UK, which was our dream prior to lockdown, because going beyond that was a bigger challenge, and airfares and distance and getting in the room with people around the world was going to take more time and more consideration. And then suddenly we had the World Wide Web at our fingertips, and people could train with us from anywhere in the world without, again, having to leave their own home. Um, a bit like it's become comfortable now for you and I to chat. I don't feel like I'm in the UK and you're in the US. I feel like I'm sat beside you
Yeah.
having a chat. So it really brought, for our purposes, it made everything close
Yeah.
and everything more doable and achievable. And so consequently, thanks to that scary time, ChiCi Fit has flourished.
Yeah. So let's go back to the very beginnings. What did you want to be when you were growing up? What was your dream life?
I wanted to be an actress,
Okay.
specifically in musicals.
Yeah. So how did we get to this point? How did this interest in acting and musicals and fitness, how did an entrepreneur, what were the foundational blocks that were planted that became who you are today?
Um, I think it probably all began with my nature more than anything else, which was I was passionate about theatre, passionate about performing, loved to dance. Not a brilliant dancer, a trained dancer, but not a brilliant dancer. I don't think I'd have ever made it in the professional world as a dancer per se.
Yeah.
A good enough actress, but a passionate actress, and a very mediocre singer. So in terms of the triple threat, I didn't have, I wasn't really a triple threat. I
Yeah.
was kind of just good at everything, but I was passionate about all of it. I was lucky enough after my schooling at age 18 to get a place at the Guildford School of Acting, which is one of our, on the musical theatre degree course, which is one of our, even to this day, because that was many years ago, is one of the best musical theatre establishments for training.
Yeah.
So I did 3 years there. And I suppose to cut a long story short, was a bit of a failed actress because I just couldn't book the jobs. There were people out there better than me. I was unfortunate, well, fortunate and fortunate, depends how you see it, to be in a year group. It was a very small year group. There were only 26 of us who just happened to be phenomenal. It was one of those years that schools refer to for history, going that year group where they all became West End stars.
Yeah.
So I was up against quite a lot of new, fresh competition on the market, and they were better than me. But it didn't matter. It didn't stop me loving it. In fact, I don't believe I ever truly pursued it properly because it wasn't right entirely. Musicals needed to be in my world, but I just didn't quite know how. The connection with fitness came when I left drama school, where I was like dancing for hours every day as part of the course and the curriculum, that I didn't realize that my fitness and my physicality and the way I looked and the way I felt was totally because I was dancing all day, every day.
Yeah.
And the minute I left drama school and no longer had that sort of regime, and it was a bit of a regime, I started losing my fitness, putting on weight, not feeling great about myself, all of which would have been part and parcel of how I felt in an audition room. So I started to run. I started running as a beginning point. It's really easy. Just open the front door, put your trainers on, off you go.
Yeah.
Didn't really like it, but I learned to like it. And I learned that the way I could like it was to plug my headphones in, take myself off into the countryside, and listen to show tunes on my Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
And then I was completely transported. Suddenly I forgot I was running,
Yeah.
and I'd be doing 10K regularly through a week as my nice little run. I don't believe it was because I was a good runner. I was literally fueled by show tunes. So that was, I hadn't pieced it together yet. None of it had been pieced together. These were all just little packages in my life. I also wanted to start a family. And I realized that, that elusive world of performing isn't very conducive to sort of stability.
Yeah.
Um, and so I accepted a job, a teaching job, where they gave me the musical theatre niche, an area to really develop at the very prestigious Cheltenham Ladies College, which is like one of the most renowned girls' schools in the world, which happens to be in my town. And I remained there for many years part-time whilst having my babies, who are now 17 and 19. And I ran a drama school, a sort of a small stage school where I nurtured young people's talent within musical theatre. And it was all kind of coming together, but I just hadn't yet. And I was loving it, genuinely loving it. I loved the Ladies' College. I loved Cameo, which was my stage school. And I loved having the opportunity to bring up my babies and be very, very present in their lives and obviously get them straight into my stage school when they were like 3.5. Because it was a form of one, sharing my passion and my skill set with them, but also cheap babysitting. I could do my job with my kids in tow. They both loved it, loved it. Um, and then it was when the parents started, of the kids I was teaching, started saying, do you do anything for adults? Like, we'd really love this kind of musical thing. We drop our kids off with you every week. They come back bouncing and beaming and singing and full of energy and joy. Could you maybe offer a class for adults? So within my stage school, which I no longer run, I don't have time for it all, Cameo, I tentatively trialed an adult version of what I was teaching the kids, which was incorporating singing, dancing, and acting in a like 1 hour session. But it became very apparent very, very quickly that these adults, they didn't really want to act and they didn't really want to sing as such because it felt a bit inhibited. They just loved it when I put on a show tune like Fame and we danced and we shouted and sang in the noisiest, most unpleasant way that brought us so much joy
Yeah.
whilst we were dancing because they got sweaty, their heart rates went up, they were ticking their fitness box, and they were just living their biggest, glossiest, most glitzy, fabulous life in that moment.
Yeah.
So I parked the Cameo version briefly whilst I considered how I could redevelop something more ideal, more inclusive, and more far-reaching. Like, I wanted to create something that was so addictive that people would truly commit to it and then to themselves. Because as we know, getting fit, staying fit, feeling fit, and then all those wonderful things that roll off the back of your health and your fitness, well, better health because of your fitness, et cetera, only happen if you are consistent. And I'm not stupid. I myself have had to find things to commit to over my life. Some are much easier than others. And the ones that are easier, the things you love, the things you just want to come back for again and again. And mostly what you want to come back for is the way you were made to feel
Yeah.
during that time. So I plowed all my energies and emphasis into creating a class that would do just that. And yeah, ChiChi Fit was born from that combination of loving musicals and loving the fitness world and how fitness made you feel. And I truly feel like the marriage of those two things is unlike anything else.
We're always groomed to be the best, especially in acting. It's always this idea of being the big star and being out in front. And the wonderful thing that you described about your story is that you've been around long enough to understand where your talent level is and what kind of impact that you'll make. And it's like you've had this opportunity to take all of these separate dreams and to holistically put it together to benefit people the most, which seems to be kind of the more like a Maslowian kind of hierarchy that you've hit, versus. So do you ever think about how your life would have been different if you would have gotten into acting and hit the highest level versus what you're doing now? Do those thoughts ever go into your head?
No, I truly don't think I ever believed I was ever going to be a really, really great actress because I didn't like the process you had to go through to get that job. I hated the audition process. I
Yeah.
hated that kind of cattle call of hundreds of girls and you looked up and down and decided. I didn't like any of that. So I
Yeah.
just kind of instinctively knew that because that wasn't going to be my thing, something else had to, because there was nothing else I loved in life.
Yeah.
And so, and I think it's really interesting what you were just saying then, that I've sort of understood my skill set for it first, and I've learned about my skill set, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I've developed confidence in areas that I truly didn't realize I was such an expert, because it takes a long time to get to that stage, and that's really fulfilling and exciting. But that version of what I've done, and I've done it in a really organic way, is what I want to instill on others,
Yeah.
that whatever their dream is, and whatever their dream is, I've had to take some really big, brave, scary moves. I've lived outside my comfort zone for the best part of the last 5 years. And I truly do believe, I know it's become a little bit cliched, but the magic happens in that scary part of discomfort.
Yeah.
Um, and I also am a real believer in every single person who comes into my life through ChiChi Fit, whether it's as a member who's attending one of my classes, or someone who's come to train with me and train to teach and deliver ChiChi Fit, or someone who comes into their class, that they go away feeling empowered and able, and to be brave enough to perhaps just say yes to opportunity
Yeah.
that comes into their life in whatever format that is, and whatever kind of career they're living, whether, or just simply as a parent, try and better all aspects of those worlds by making them starting from them feeling better about themselves.
Yeah.
And show tunes really help. So
Okay.
I specifically put together playlists with songs from shows that literally hit you right in here. And you're filling up on these lyrics. And at no word of a lie, at the end of some of those songs, you feel like you can take on the world.
Yeah.
And, I know it's not just the genre of musical theatre. I know that people will put together playlists on their own for various aspects. Like my daughter, oh my gosh, I share her Spotify playlists, partly because they're genius, but it's for her working music when she's studying for her exams, and it's all kind of classical, and it's stimulating her brain. Then her sunshine playlist for when the sun's out and she wants to feel, and I'm like, people, it's literally, I'm helping people to understand
Yeah.
that obviously fitness is the byproduct of it all, because we dance our way through every class, but music, you've got to create a
Yeah.
playlist to life,
Yeah.
and that can make all the difference up here,
Yeah.
and then what you end up doing.
Absolutely. Who's been that inspiration for you? Who's been that hero for you in your life?
My mum was definitely the biggest eye-opener to how you can do life. Sadly, I lost her earlier this year, quite unexpectedly, but I've realized in that loss just how much of she was the ultimate entrepreneur. Her whole world was health, wellness, alternative medicine. She was an acupuncturist, one of the leading voices in the UK in Chinese medicine. So I was brought up in a very, very alternative medicine household. But really, I think what inspired me most about her is she never played small. And I did witness it, and I was aware at the time, because often people aren't. It's only afterwards they go, "Wow, you." I've always been aware that my mom was crazy brave and courageous, but it came from a real innate belief that she was the best at what she does.
Yeah.
And she was. Um, and so I've learned that, you know, to move forward with anything or any aspect of your life, you've got to be brave, you've got to be courageous, you can't wait for life to happen on you, you've got to go out there and get it. But also you've just got to ask. You've
Yeah.
just got to say, you've got to keep putting it out there. And if you can, like I've been fortunate to do, find people en route. I've got so many fabulous members and instructors all over the UK and worldwide, but to bring them into this wonderful, positive world, and we move forward together. And it's like this glittery, it's like a power that can't be penetrated with any negativity. So, but yeah, I would say my mom was my biggest learning curve. And even though there was a lot of her that drove me insane, I do realize, and I'm very grateful to have been able to witness her grow her own business and brand over the years from when I was a little kid. And they always say you learn more from your parents by watching them than listening to anything they say to you.
Yeah,
And I truly believe that was the case.
absolutely. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight and ran into the 18-year-old version of you getting ready to charge out into the world, you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived and the wisdom you've accumulated, what advice would you get? What would you give that younger version?
Do you know, I mean, it's quite extensive, but I quite often look back to 18-year-old me, partly because both my children are that sort of age.
Yeah,
And I look at them and I'm actually envious about those strong, solid, confident, self-assured humans they are. And I think having witnessed me grow this brand and stand on big stages and work alongside celebrities, etc., they think that was always me. But at 18, I was nothing like them.
yeah,
I truly was probably quite broken inside, absolutely terrified of everything my dream life might entail because it's came with no guarantees. Um, and a lot of potential challenges. And I didn't like myself very much. And whereas I came across as confident because I love to perform, the real me outside of the persona on stage or in the school productions or leading this, that, and the other was quite different. And I look at myself then, and I suppose it's what I've instilled in my kids because of it is that you can you just can take each day as it comes and try be the best version of yourself each day.
yeah.
Don't worry beyond, but also live from a place of your passions. Because I get really upset when I hear young people going, well, that doesn't make much money and that's going to make me this. And I'm going to just do that for like 10 years until. And I'm like, but will you enjoy that 10 years? Well, no, but I'll be really rich at the end of it. And I would say that I was wise to do what I did, but I wish I'd had a bit more of a support system around me because I truly just did follow my dream.
Yeah.
I thought all I want to do in life is the things I love. And if I can potentially make that a career and earn an income from it. And now, because it brings so much joy to me, to my family, to everyone who sort of steps into the Chi-Chi world, it's I'm on a bigger mission than ever to tap into more people's lives with ChiChi Fit in hope that it has the profound effect on their lives. And I'm witnessing it, and it's possibly the most wonderful but most overwhelming part of ChiChi Fit.
So let me ask you this. If you could walk into a room of everybody that knows you from ChiChi Fit and everybody that knows you in kind of a client business sense, and you could tell them one fun story about you, the first concert you went to, the first show musical that you saw, jumping out of an airplane, just a fun story, something they may not know about you, what would you tell that room of people?
That my first stage performance was in a giant pantomime. I was 5 years old and I was dressed as a teddy bear in the most phenomenal teddy bear. Like I looked like a real living teddy bear.
Yeah,
And I led the entire show because the story was, it was called The Queen of Hearts. And it was kind of retelling of a combination of things like the Queen of Hearts and all those kind of stories we woven together on a big professional stage. And I was a teddy bear, and the story was told through my eyes. And so I led the entire show as a little 5-year-old teddy bear. And even to this day, my mom said, I don't understand. I had the National Ballet School coming on stage behind me, but I stood at the front and led the beats and the timing. And apparently, I was completely fearless. So I say, in fact, in answer to your 18-year-old self, I say, embrace the power of a 5-year-old who hasn't
uh-huh.
got a clue about
Yeah,
what's happening, and you just go with it.
yeah. So of everything that you've done, and more importantly, evolved to at this point in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I'm the proudest of truly following my dream at the age, starting at the age of 40, when people think if they didn't find their thing, it's done. I found my thing at 40 and I've pursued it wholeheartedly. And my next birthday, I'll be 50, just to give you an indication of the decade of. And so I'm most proud of the fact that I didn't let age or my role as a mum prevent me from going all in on this mission of mine to bring musical theatre and a healthier, fitter way of life into more people's lives. And I'm mostly proud, one, because it's done just that, but two, because I feel like my children, in their kind of really informative years, from sort of 10 to 18 or 8 to 18, they've seen mum go from an idea to performing on giant stages all over the country with this thing that happened from that one thought. And they've seen the work that's gone into it. And I feel like it's probably been one of their biggest and most powerful life lessons that they can take with them forever. So I'm proud of those two things, making it happen and giving my kids a chance to witness the way a mother can do life.
So at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Everybody in a business sense, everybody in a personal sense, family, friends. Um, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I don't think I'm quite as glittery and sparkly and sequin covered as I actually think everyone thinks. I live a life where I'm just permanently sparkled up with glitter and glam. I I feel like I have a very sort of wholesome, tight-knit family life with close people around me and chickens in my backyard that's really, truly not very glamorous at all. And I don't think anyone believes that. I truly think they don't think that and it brings me such joy to get up in the morning, let the hens out, collect their eggs, do yummy, healthy, nurturing food for my family, spend quality time in the theatre and among wonderful people, having experiences. I think I do lead a busy, there's not many minutes in a day that don't get fully utilized, but in quite an earthy way that gets dabbled with sequins when I step into my role as ChiChi.
I love it. What a great answer. So if anybody wants to get involved with ChiChi Fit, they want to reach out, they have questions, they're interested, any of the good business, where's the best place for them to go?
Best place is to probably visit our website, chichi-fit.co.uk. ChiChi,
Yes.
two little eyes. Or find us on our Instagram, chichifit.dancefit. It's a really happy place to come and visit our Instagram grid. Lots of joyfulness, particularly if you're a theatre lover. And yeah, if you want to dance and get fitter and you love show tunes and you love musicals, you can join ChiChi Fit's on-demand studios and dance in the comfort of your own home, anytime, anywhere. Or if you think you've got it in you and you're looking for a side hustle, a new career, whether you're 40, 50, 60, 20, starting out, there's no time like the present. And that's like a real big thing for me to say. There's no time like the present. There's no tomorrow. There's just today.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can train on demand as well. So you don't need to be nearby. I will reach out to you from afar. And I'm told from everyone who's trained on demand, it's a very personal, warm, inspiring, exciting training that sets them up, sprinkled with show tunes and a little bit of ChiChi magic.
I love it. I will put the links in the show notes. What a great interview. What a wonderfully self-actualized life that you've evolved to. It's always so great to hear these stories. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your story and continued success.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So
Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the Great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.